Brexit is posing important new challenges for the United Kingdom and for EU integration. Now, we have seen as a kind of a first short-term reaction that the British pound has depreciated. There is a fall of stock prices and real estate prices have come down, and this will continue for quite some time. The IMF economic forecast has been slightly revised for Germany and the Eurozone for 2017. For instance, the German forecast is 0.4 percentage points lower. On the other hand, of course, for the United Kingdom, as one would expect, the change in the forecast is considerable. So there is a reduction of 0.9 percentage points for next year, and it might be that the UK will face a recession in 2017. The more important questions concern, however, how the future relation between the United Kingdom and EU 27 will be. That is not easy to organize, to find an adequate framework for this. It is obvious that the UK will want to maintain a strong access to the EU single market. On the other hand, the European Union would be wise not to grant too generous conditions to the United Kingdom, because otherwise there would be a signal for other EU member countries to follow the UK, and this would lead into full EU disintegration dynamics. EU disintegration is certainly not what we want to see on the continent and in Europe, and certainly would also not be in the interest of the United Kingdom. So maybe that some form of cooperation within a free trade agreement, possibly following the example of CETA, so the treaty between Canada and the EU, which still has to be signed in the parliaments, but that could be a line that might work. On the other hand, we should clearly recognize that Brexit is a big challenge here in Europe. It will create many new problems. The United Kingdom is not just leaving the European Union, actually it is leaving roughly a dozen of EU institutions, and that means that there is a depreciation of EU institutional capital, and also, if you want to put it like this, of British institutional capital that was accumulated within the European Union. So that's a negative welfare effect that often is ignored. And there will also be a more long-term decline of British real income. The British government under Cameron came up with a study that basically said the decline will be 4 to 8% of GDP, depending on the degree of access to the EU single market. Well, if I understand correctly, what Mr. David Davis, the exit minister in the new May government, has explained a few months ago already, the UK will basically want to have more free trade agreements in the future, and that's certainly a good idea from the perspective of the UK, in the sense that if you can get a free trade agreement with Australia, with Canada, with the US, with China and other countries, that can generate positive output effects through trade creation. But it's of course a little bit a complicated story if you look for that type of arrangements, let's say for instance with China, and that will not be so easy. And then you get additional trade creation that you could have had also within the EU as a member country. So there will be a decline of British output in the long term, probably 6 to 7%, and that also means that there will be a decline of output in EU 27, and that could be an order of magnitude of 1 to 2% or maybe a little bit more. Both the UK and the EU27 will face a problem in the sense that the trade liberalization with the United States is maybe not successful under the heading of Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. So the TTIP project might not be successfully implemented if there is no political support of the UK anymore. And Germany and France seem to be quite hesitant here. From this perspective, then, the welfare effects can be more negative, can be bigger than simply looking at the figures suggested by the British government. So there will be probably a delay in trade liberalization in the transatlantic perspective, and it could be, on the other hand, that the United Kingdom is faster than EU27 in getting a deal done. Brexit is a bad signal for other integration areas, so Mercosur and ASEAN, two integration regions that have followed the European Union model for many years, they could also face internal instability in the sense that the willingness to integrate with other countries is declining. We should not forget that the EU is a customs union with the special characteristic that the European Commission is negotiating for all EU member countries trade treaties, deep integration treaties in a modern form, and that has turned out to be an advantage. The European Commission should probably accelerate its activities when they consider trade liberalization with Asian countries. And of course, we need broader reforms in the Eurozone and also in the EU. The European Union as an EU27 group without further reforms probably cannot survive. It has to be more democratic. It should be more oriented towards innovation and growth, and also towards a European social market economy. So there must be something where people, ordinary citizens, vote or think, oh, the European Union, this means an advantage for me, for my family, for my country. And here we need some time for reflection, we need discussions, and then we need some bold reforms.